Hey, it's Whitney, and today I have a speed build for you. Today we're building a cafe slash laundromat, and I know we don't have functional laundromats in the game, but you can, still use this. You can bring, I've play tested it already, and you can bring your laundry if you have a laundry basket and it's full. You kind of like have to move it out of the laundry basket, and you can move the pile of clothes into your Sims inventory, and then they can bring it to the slot, and then they can use the laundromat. And so far it hasn't glitched for me, and it's worked pretty well. I like to do these kind of builds where they are multifunctional, and it's not just like one type of lot, because I feel like if we have to sit through a loading screen, I know for me personally, a lot of the times my Sims don't really leave their houses because it's kind of annoying to have to sit through multiple loading screens. So every time I play, I kind of like go ahead and like I'll do it at least once. Like that's as much as my attention span can like put up with, is like sitting through maybe one or two loading screens. So if I decide for my Sims to go out anywhere, I kind of have to make it worth it. And I know I think I'm pretty sure I've built cafes before on this channel, and I'll probably build many more. I don't know why, but I get like obsessed sometimes with certain types of builds. So like one time I built a hotel, and I built like a bunch of different hotels even though I haven't posted them yet. High schools was also one. When the high school pack came out, I think I built three different versions of schools, and I still kind of want to do another one. I feel like it's okay to do like multiple of the same builds, because I don't know, you might want to do it in a different style, and I do have a different style of cafe that I want to do. Like I definitely want to try and do a cat cafe because I think that's super cute, but I also feel like cafes are like almost like the perfect place for your Sims to get out, because like I mentioned before, there's some people who probably do have their Sims going out and doing things all the time, but then there also might be people who don't really have their Sims go out, and they kind of like do everything in their house. But I feel like with a cafe, it's kind of like the opportunity for your Sims to get out, especially with this one, because like I can definitely see my Sims coming here to do their laundry, and in the meantime grabbing a cup of coffee. There's also computers here, or your Sims can bring their own laptops if you want them to, and they can like come here and like do their work, especially if they have like one of the freelance careers where they're working from home. I feel like this is like the perfect place to come to. I also feel that this lot is like the perfect thing for Sam Myshuno, and that was kind of my intention for this lot to be for Sam Myshuno, because currently honestly I haven't really been able to play The Sims 4 that much, and I feel like the reason for that is because I don't want to say I'm bored of the game. I really love this game. I'll always love The Sims, but I kind of get bored with like my Sims not being able to do anything. So when I start like a new save file, it's kind of boring, because well, at first when I first start a save file, it's really fun because I'm kind of like getting to know this new Sim, but then after time it gets kind of boring, and I want my Sims to go out and explore. I'm not really fond of EA's builds, and I'm also not very fond of going through the gallery. And I don't know, I just have this thing where like I feel weird using other people's builds, especially for me because I make TikToks and I also make shorts and stuff like that. I feel weird with using other people's lots as a creator. So I don't know, I kind of feel like I have to make my own lots in order to use it for my content. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but like that's kind of like that's like a rule that I have with myself, that if I'm going to be taking screenshots and using these screenshots in like content that I make, then it has to be something from me, if that makes sense. And so the Sim that I'm currently playing with, she lives in San Myshuno, and so I wanted to really take some time to build up San Myshuno. I wouldn't say that I'm working on a save file, but I don't know, like I don't really understand. Like maybe if I can learn how to like, make it downloadable or something like that, then maybe I will. But right now I'm just kind of like focusing on one world, and kind of doing renovations and making the world what I need it to be. I do plan on doing, another, like, two other save files. I don't know when that's going to be happening, because I feel like save files is like a long term project, but in my mind, I do have it written down, so I will get to it eventually. But I do want to make a save file that is more compatible for other people, because I don't have every single pack, but I have the packs that I want, and I do have a pretty decent amount of packs, but I do want to like make it more available for other people who may have limited packs. So I do plan on doing a save file that might be base game if it's like a base game world, or base game plus maybe one other pack or something like that. Or like, for example, say Myshuno, which is a world that came with city living, it might be base game and only city living. And I feel like with this build, I don't want to say that it was, yeah, because I'm seeing like some growing together stuff, because I've really been obsessed with I'm not cast, the build and buy objects from growing together, which typically happens when a new pack comes out. I usually do become obsessed with the objects in that pack, but I think I did for the majority, or for like the most important objects, I think I was able to keep it down to base game, city living, and I think there was maybe some cats and dog, and maybe some get to work, I think. But yeah, this, I wouldn't say that this build is limited packs at all. But I did try to keep that in mind, and I do have plans in the future to make more limited builds. So like for people who don't have all the packs, or have a limited amount of packs, and it's more, I feel like this build is accessible. You can download it on the gallery. It's already up. I'll put that in the description down below. But it will work for you. You just, there's also laundry day, of course, because you need laundry day, because you need the washers and dryers. But like, I don't think like I put any like huge big things to where like if you don't have the packs, it's gonna be a noticeable difference for you. I also use a lot of debug items, and also I don't know if it's just me, but lately my game has been really messing with me, and it's been making me a little anxious lately, because for this build, my game crashed completely. Like it completely like just shut off, and I did have the recorded footage. So what you're seeing now, it's probably not the final result of it, because I think my game crashed because I don't think I had my mods in here. Like I didn't have my mods enabled right here at this point, but I did have I guess, I don't know, it was just, I think I had used the debug cheat and the live edit cheat, and I feel like trying to load all of those things up, it kind of was too much for my game. Also, I had OBS running, recording this, and I think I had been recording for a few hours, working on this build, and I guess it was just too much. But honestly, lately, like my game has been kind of like buggy lately. Like I remember last night I was working on a restaurant, and you would think I would know better into like save periodically while I'm building, but sometimes I kind of get into, I don't know, into my zone, and I don't really want to stop and save my game, because I feel like it kind of makes me lose momentum, or I get distracted. Something about like the save button, it kind of like, I don't know, it signals something in my brain. It was like, okay, time to stop playing now, and I didn't want to. And so as I was recording this build, like it crashed, and I had to kind of like start over. Basically, like a lot of the exterior got lost, and I did not feel like going through debug mode, because I honestly can get lost in that. I don't know, it's just like, I love clutter. I love like debug items, because it kind of makes the world look more lived in, and more, I don't know, it makes it like, I feel like debug makes it feel more like real life, instead of just a game, even though it is a game. And I just like a lot of clutter. That's another thing that I want to do too. Maybe in Newcrest I'll like challenge myself to not use as much clutter. Also, I think when I was doing this build, I noticed that there's like a lot of stuff in this game that I'd never really use, and I kind of want to challenge myself to use some of those items that I never really use. I don't even know what kind of purpose they serve in this game. I noticed that with what is the pack that came with the actors? I think it's that one. There's a lot of stuff that I don't use. Some like Strangerville stuff I don't really use as much. I can't really think of anything else, but I do kind of want to like see, like look at these items and kind of like see what I can do with them. Um, but I also want to challenge myself to maybe in Newcrest I'll do this. I want to do like more move-in ready type homes, like homes that aren't lived in by people and they're like for sale or something like that. And I feel like that might be a bit of a challenge for someone like me, because when it comes to building um either community lots or residential lots, I kind of like have to kind of see like what kind of sim is going to come here. How are they interacting with the space, like how is the space usable? And that's how I do it with residential lots, like what sims, like who lives here, like what do they need, what are they into, what are their interests are, like what is their personality. That's how I build my homes. So to kind of like build a home that doesn't really have a certain personality in mind, it's just for like, I don't know, it's kind of like a home that you'll post on the internet or you'll post in a magazine trying to get someone to buy it, and it's kind of like, I don't know, like aesthetically pleasing for the most part. I'm not gonna say like my builds are ugly, but I kind of like that lived in look to them. This lot technically qualifies as being a cafe. And honestly, what I really wanted to do was the laundromat. I really didn't care about building another cafe. I didn't necessarily need another cafe because, like I mentioned, I've built one before. I don't know. I just feel like they're really fun lots to have in your game. Because, I don't know. I just like having, like, the thought of my Sims coming out and trying to make new friends, and then they run into someone they meet at the cafe, and then they sit and have a cup of coffee. Or it's like you want a place where your Sims can have not a very fancy date, but like they're kind of like casually dating someone and they go to the cafe. I really wanted to build a laundromat though. For some reason I've wanted to build one for a while. I think I built one before I started my YouTube channel. It was on a different computer, so I in like at the time I didn't have really good internet, so I always played offline. So I never uploaded it on the gallery or anything like that. It was just something that I built for myself. I've never really taken myself seriously as a builder. Probably, I don't know, probably in the last maybe year or two, I've kind of like considered or felt comfortable calling myself a builder, but I always was building things like on my own, because it's fun. I feel like, I don't know, is it just me, or is this like, I don't know, I see people make TikToks about like sitting down and wanting to play your game, and then you just spend all your time in cast, or you spend all your time in build mode, and then like once you're done with that, like you're tired and you don't ever get to around to like actually playing the game. And it's like weird that we have that kind of mindset about it, because we are technically playing the game. Even if we are building or if we're spending time in cast, we are technically playing the game. But it's like we all kind of like don't consider playing the game as build or buy or cast. We only consider playing the game as like being in live mode and like raising a family. And I wonder if there are people out there who don't play the game at all, and that's all they do is like cast and or build by. I don't know, I feel like that's kind of weird. Like, I feel like another thing I never really consider myself as being is a person who does a lot in cast. Even though I have uploaded a few videos of me making Sims, I still don't consider myself like that type of player. I feel like I like every single aspect of the game. But going back to what I was talking about, I wanted to talk about why I wanted the laundromat. um I don't know, I just like laundromats, and I remember like going to the laundromat with my grandma when I was a kid. And I don't know, did I leave I think I left the arcade machine in the final build. But I don't know, I kind of like I don't know, I remember like going to the laundromat and like wanting to play the arcade games because they were super fun. And so that's like kind of like the main reason why I wanted to build one. Also, I've also been working on apartment renovations too in San Myshuno. And one thing that like I would like to be able to do in the apartments is to have washers and dryers. But I kind of like to be a little bit more realistic, and like not everyone, especially in like more urban areas, I don't think like everyone has a washer and dryer in their apartment. And so I feel like it's kind of like realistic to have a laundromat, especially in like a more urban area. I live in a very rural community, so like even if you don't have a washer, you at least have either a washer and then like a clothesline to like hang your clothes up or something. But for the most part, um, a lot of people do have their own washer and dryer, and we do have laundromats in like where I live, but um, not a whole lot of people go to them. I feel like for the most part, most people have washers and dryers, and I feel like, I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I feel like most people in the city have to go to the laundromat. I don't know why, but I, I, I don't know. I just, in my world that I've created in The Sims, everyone in the city goes to the laundromat, and that's where you meet people. And I don't know, I kind of like the Spice District. It's a really cool community, and I kind of like see it as a place where like the whole community knows everyone in it, and they have like either one place that they all come to, or a very select few places that they come to. And I think also I've been watching lately. Well, I haven't been watching it now, but when I started this field, I was watching a lot of Shameless, and I was kind of like inspired too by that world. I don't really know how it applies to this, but lately I've been on the episodes where you can kind of like see the gentrification happening in the South Side, and so that was another thing that was influencing me with this build, whereas like you can kind of get a glimpse of the old and what's always been here, and like some people came in and brought it up and tried to make it nicer and more appealing to a newer um generation or a hipper crowd or whatever. And so yeah, I feel like that was something else that influenced this build. I have been having a lot of fun playing with it, and I think it's been doing pretty well in the gallery, so I'm going to assume that people have been enjoying this build. I have noticed though that like with the cafe part of the build, well, I don't think it's necessarily my build. I've noticed this in pretty much any cafe that I go to, whether it be EA's version of a cafe, like if it's just like something that they build, it's really kind of annoying to go to a cafe because it's, I don't wouldn't say it's broken, but it reminds me of like the dine out, how it doesn't necessarily function that way that you want it to. Because I don't know, I feel like it takes a really long time for my Sims to get their coffee. I feel like the one barista is like super stressed out because everyone is grouping up at the counter, and like no one is getting their stuff. And oftentimes like I'll get my Sims to order something from the counter, and I don't wait until they get what they ordered. I just like whatever comes up first. I might be stealing people's coffee or their croissant or whatever, but it just takes a really long time for your Sims to get their own stuff. And so I just prefer to just take someone else's. And also it's kind of like annoying where how like your Sims don't really sit together. Like if they get invited out to go to a cafe, like you kind of like lose the person that you came to the cafe with. It's because I don't know, they just don't, like they might like one might grab their coffee and sit downstairs, and the other one might go upstairs and drink their coffee. It's really annoying. But I kind of like have this idea that like I don't know, I did delete the karaoke bar thing, and I plan on building my own somewhere else. But I do like the idea of like San Myshuno having a place where people can come and do like live music and stuff like that, because I don't know, when I think of the city, that's what I think of. Creatives coming together to create and express themselves and share their art. I feel like that's kind of like the idea of San Myshuno anyway. And so yeah, this is kind of like my Starbucks. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think the last cafe that I uploaded, it was a modded cafe. So I did use a CC pack to build that cafe, and that one was kind of like a Starbucks kind of thing. And I'm realizing now that like I've kind of built the same cafe almost. It's not exactly the same, but it's really similar. Like the aesthetic of it, like the industrial feel of it, it's kind of really similar, but it's not, it doesn't have any CC. It's completely CC free. So I don't know. Like I did initially plan on going back one day and doing one that was like CC free, and I've kind of like already done that unintentionally. I have noticed though that like when your Sims come here, because it is technically a cafe lot, it has all the requirements to be a cafe. Um, I have noticed that like the Sims don't really use the laundromat, and I wasn't really expecting them to. I kind of like had that in mind for just my Sims to use anyway, so it's okay that they don't use it. I did, at first I was like, maybe I'll use the like generic lot trait, but the thing about like the generic lot trait is that like when you do or make a lot that's generic, meaning that it can be pretty much anything and it's not classified as residential, so like people, NPCs, can come to that lot. You don't see a lot of townies spawn there, when I feel like that kind of defeats the purpose, especially if you're trying to get your sim to go out and maybe make some friends. It's kind of defeats the purpose because they can't make any friends, because if it's classified as a generic lot, then townies and NPCs don't really spawn there. So that's another reason why I like to make my lots multi-purpose, because like I can do a cafe and Sims will spawn here and your Sims can make friends and meet new people. But then there's also the added function of something that doesn't really exist in the game, even though I wish that it could be added. I feel like I can't think of any on the top of my head right now. For one, I feel like with the laundry day pack, it would have been cool if the Sims team added an actual laundromat lot trait, or like with the growing together pack. I really feel kind of frustrated that like they didn't have a elder home, or whatever it's called, the assisted living type of home, like where a nursing home. Like I'm kind of like bummed that they didn't have something like that, because I feel like that's something that would be really cool to see in the game. And I want to build one. Actually, I do plan on building a nursing home, but I'm kind of like on the fence about it, because it's like I want to build one, but it's like I'm not really sure how I can make it functional. How can I? The only way that I can think of right now is to make it as a residential house, and like just filling it up with Sims, maybe making a nurse sim and making a few elder Sims, and then just having them, I don't know, like cheat their money or something, so that their bills are taken care of, but it's like this is where they live, this is their nursing home. But yeah, I don't really know how I would make that work. I feel like that's something that I need to write down, because I do plan on doing that in the future. But it's like stuff like that I feel like EA kind of like dropped the ball on when it came to like potential like lot traits. Like they don't even have to like build the thing, but just like add it in the game, where like this is this type of lot. Like I mentioned earlier, my game did crash when I did a lot of the exterior of this build. So when it crashed and I was able to get my game back and running, I did kind of like restart the exterior, and I kind of like changed some things. So that's not, I mean, I did like cut out some of it, but what you will see at the end where I post like the pictures and stuff, it's gonna probably look different, because I redid it off camera. I kind of like stopped like beating myself up when these things happen, and I kind of like see it as like a sign from the universe. Like it's like, okay, I don't like this, let's try again. And you didn't save, so we're just gonna like completely erase this, and then you have to start over. Sometimes you do need these like little breaks away, when you're building, because some, I don't know, it's like sometimes you get too much in it, or like it's like you want to rush and hurry up and get it over with. So sometimes it's like good to like if you're building a build or you're making some type of art, sometimes it's good to step away and come back to it with a fresh set of eyes and a fresh and cleared mind. But yeah, so yeah, sometimes I'm like grateful for the moments where my game crashes and completely destroys my builds, because it gives me an opportunity to start over and try different stuff. I did also cut out a lot of this build because it was a long, like it took me a while. I don't know why it took me so long to build this, but it was a lot of footage, and so I ended up cutting out some of it, because like I said, I did do some digging through debug mode, and that takes a long time. And then I also love a lot of clutter, and sometimes what you will see, like if I leave it in, is just me scrolling through build by, or like scrolling through clutter, scrolling through debug, and I feel like that's something that people don't want to see. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you appreciate this build. Stick around for the pictures that I'm going to put in the end. Please also don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate you so much for sticking to the end, and I hope you stick around for future videos.